ladies and gentlemen, to an all-new reaction and review. Tonight, guys, I'm taking a look at a film from 2013. That movie is Escape from Tomorrow. Now, I'm going to tell you guys, the only thing I really know about this movie is the story behind how it was made. You see, this movie was shot, this movie was shot at both Disney World and Disneyland. And it was shot in secret with no film permits. In other words, this thing was made entirely using guerrilla filmmaking tactics, and apparently that was done because there's no way in hell Disney or the Disney company would have ever signed off on something like this being filmed on their property. Again, that is what I have been told, which I know sounds really ominous, but you also have to understand that Disney as a company is incredibly anal about some really stupid shit. So really, it really doesn't tell us as much as you might think. Now, the only other thing I really know about this movie has nothing to do with the plot or the story, but really it has to do with exactly how this film has been received. And it apparently is a ridiculously polarizing movie. I mean, I really haven't bothered to go in depth on reviews, but apparently everybody who has seen this thing either heralds it as a breathtaking, brilliant masterpiece, or they write it off as a pile of shit. And it really is kind of sort of a 50-50 split. So I don't even know if this thing's gonna have any promise before I go in, because apparently you're either going to love it or you're going to despise it, which, you know what, honestly, that actually kind of sort of makes my, job here easier. But you know what? I'm genuinely hoping for this movie to be decent. I have no idea what the fucking plot is. I didn't even bother to read the plot summary on Netflix. I just said, fuck it, I'm doing this. So yeah, I'm going into this sucker completely blind, and I have no earthly clue if this thing is going to be even halfway decent. And the only way I'm going to find out if it is halfway decent is if I shut up and I push play, and I'm going to do that right now. So, without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out Escape from Tomorrow. You know, guys, it seriously is not shocking to see how this thing was done without fucking Disneyland noticing. Because so far most of the footage I've seen essentially is just home movies of a family's trip to fucking Disney World. Or Disneyland. You can, take your pick. I'm kind of hoping, guys, for a plot to really, drive in here and start to make this interesting, but so far I'm just basically looking at a rather irritating family's shitty home fucking movies, and it's kind of boring. So now, guys, we finally have a little bit of a plot. We have a guy dragging one of his kids around Disneyland. He actually swapped kids just a couple of minutes ago, as he chases after two pieces of jail bait. Oh, yes, and occasionally creepy things are seen on the faces of park, like mascots and rides and shit. So far, guys, this thing is kind of dull, and I'm genuinely hoping that it gets at least a little bit better. Alright, guys, it is official. I hate this entire family. I hate fucking Jim. I hate his irritating wife, and I can't stand either of his ultra annoying kids. I would probably be a lot happier if there was even a single positive trait I could pull from any one of them, but I can't. All four of them are absolutely unpleasant and irritating, and goddammit, I want all four of them to die by the end of this fucking movie. So, we are now in intermission. Correction, we were just in intermission. 1 hour into a 90-minute movie, and apparently now is the time when they finally want to give us a plot besides Jim is now jobless, fucking drunk and worthless. I really hope, guys, that there is some level of payoff in this closing half hour, but frankly, at this point, I really fucking doubt it. Okay, This just seems very, very weird. Why the hell are they pixelating his butt cheeks? I totally understand, guys, that it's not something a person would normally want to see. But the fact of the matter, guys, is this movie has gone, for the most part, unfucking censored. Why the hell, then, would we suddenly have some kind of a major issue with some guy's fucking butt cheeks while he's coughing up hairballs into a toilet bowl? No, seriously, guys, that right there is what he's doing right now, and I don't quite get it. But what's even weirder is the fact that they pixelated his butt cheeks, even though this film has gone uncensored for almost everything else. It's really kind of fucked up. Well, guys, that was Escape from Tomorrow. Let me shut that off. Jesus fucking God. Alright. I know that I went into this thing blind. I know that I was totally up for anything, and I was totally ready in case this movie sucked. But you know what, guys? This movie, it really didn't suck as much as it's just incredibly it's just like it's disappointing. That's the perfect word for it. Disappointing. Why? Because we had a film that was filmed in a very creative way, which I am going to say to film a full length film on Disney property with no fucking permits and not getting caught. That is awesome, and that is fucking commendable stuff. All right. However, your story kind of fails. I'm going to talk about the writing because the writing is probably the biggest sin this film has. First of all, I do have to say that it is awesome that they were able to actually cobble out a story that has some moderate level of coherence. However, none of that is helped when you don't have a single sympathetic character to follow. Now, our main character in this film is Jim, and I'm going to give you most of Jim's character arc without diving into spoilers. The film starts, and Jim gets a call while on vacation telling him that he has been fired. And because of that, and apparently because his family life is just such a fucking mess, we then spend the next 90 minutes or so watching as he stalks fucking underage women. He goes and he cheats on his wife, he drinks heavily, he loses his children multiple times, and he also has a really bad habit of full-blown, all-out neglecting his kids. And this is our main character. There is not a single sympathetic moment with fucking Jim. Everything here is driven because he is a fucking lunatic. Or, well, he isn't really a lunatic. He's just incredibly stupid and incredibly self-fucking centered. Now, mind you, this also doesn't help the fact that we could probably find sympathy with the other members of his family. At least that would be if his wife was not a whiny, irritating bitch, and if his two children were not also whiny, annoying, and spoiled fucking rotten. I couldn't find a single positive trait out of the entire family, and we follow this family for 90 fucking minutes. Guys, there is no way in hell you can watch a movie for 90 minutes with a family that is this absolutely irritating, annoying, whiny, self-centered, and ultimately fucking stupid, and, genuinely feel as if you have seen something that is worth watching. The writers could have gone to any fucking lengths and have made these characters decent, but they didn't. So we don't have a single positive character trait amongst the entire family, and the whole film suffers because of it. Now, what else do we have in the writing? Well, we do have attempts to be weird and odd, and we have attempts to be weird and odd and surreal in terms of dialogue and settings and plot points and all of this other shit. We get one offhand mention of cat flu, which gets a really lame and rather stupid payoff towards the end. We have we just have like a whole bunch of moments which are trying to feel weird, and they are trying to feel fucking, unfucking nerving. None of it makes any sense, really. It really all just sort of felt, it really all kind of felt to me as if the filmmakers were trying to find a reason for this story to be, and just wanted to make things as weird as possible because shit, it kind of sort of worked for David Lynch, because so many people want to suck off Lynch so badly because of his stupid, inane, creepy films. Oh my god. Anyway. However, though, I will say that the difference is that this thing actually was able to write a story that makes some level of sense. And Lynch, from the 2 films of his I've seen, wouldn't know how to fucking write a coherent story if his life depended on it. Anyway, moving on. The writing here is just kind of a mess. However, the whole thing really just seems like kind of sort of a misguided mess, because everything here could have worked if they would have worked on trying to make the characters likable, if they would have tried to make the story a little bit better instead of trying to dip into, weirdness to try to fucking justify your shit. We could have had something here that was great, and instead we get something that's a little bit of a letdown. Now, moving on from there, the acting here. Now, as much, guys, as I've banged on about the writing just being a, misguided mess, the acting here was actually really solid, alright? The acting here from everybody was good. Mind you, good. I'm not saying great. Nobody here would ever be up for, like trophies, awards, or anything else for their acting, but they all turned in a halfway decent showing, and that also includes the kids. Everybody here turned in a really good showing, which is kind of stunning when the script is this, off and kind of shit. So yeah, guys, the acting here is certainly good, and I am not going to attempt to discount the acting at all. Special effects. I have 2 things to talk about when it comes to special effects, because most of them are really good. Because we have here CG, very, very little CG, I should mention, that's done very, very well. And it looks really good, especially when you consider the fact that the movie was made for just over $600,000. So yeah, everything here in terms of CG looks awesome, and also when they try to do like creepy things involving like mascots and marionettes and animatrons and even people just suddenly getting these really creepy faces. All of that looks pretty good. The problem when it comes to special effects are the shots that are painfully chroma keyed. Now, mind you, now they actually were able to chroma key, composite, and all that fine, except for the fact that the characters have this really noticeable outline on them, and it really is kind of sort of jarring, especially when they're jumping from a shot that was 100% on site, and then they jump to one of these chroma key shots. It doesn't really fit, and it looks really weird. And they could have probably fixed it with maybe well, actually, guys, the problem was the fucking lighting. Is the fact that the lighting in every single one of these like chroma key shots, the lighting in those shots does not match what was shot on site, and so it looks completely different. It looks completely out of place, and it looks ridiculously disorienting. Or correction, it feels fucking disorienting to see that. Now, mind you, that actually could have been something which the filmmakers did in order to fit into the whole creepy element of the film. However, to me, it just kind of felt a little bit off. That seriously is about all I can say on it, is just that it probably could have done with slightly better lighting. However, it still ultimately was not bad. It just didn't quite match, and I wasn't really happy with the way that it turned out. Okay, so music. I do have to comment on one thing when it comes to music in this movie, and it is that even though they shot everything on site at Disneyland and Disney World, they went to great lengths to cover up all of the Disney-owned music that plays at the park. And honestly, it works really, really well. The best moment of this, and this right here is where I have to look at the filmmakers and just go, thank you. Is there is a rather infamous ride at Disney, which is called It's a Small World, where this same irritating 10-second long song loops as you basically are driven on a fucking rail, and according to most who have ridden on it, that song makes it one of the most hellish experiences you will ever see. Now, what they did here is they swapped out that song for a sound-alike that is nowhere near as irritating, annoying, or fucking grating. And that is awesome. Now, I do believe that even though Disney has been trying to distance themselves from this movie as much as they possibly can, they really should go to the filmmakers and try to get that one song and replace it and use it actually as rather a replacement for the irritating, annoying song that plays when people are sitting through It's a Small World. It would probably be a vastly better ride if they were to do that. That honestly, guys, is like the only note I can give you too in terms of music. Is they were able to make footage of they were able to take footage of It's a Small World and make it work, which is great. Camera work. I haven't talked about camera work yet, and that is because it kind of sort of slipped my mind. But guys, the camera work here is amazing. There's really only like one or two shots that are kind of sort of out of focus, and I am not going to gripe on those much. The very fact that this thing, again, guys, was shot on site with no fucking permits. Guerrilla filmmaking at its finest. We had perfect shots. We had perfect fucking blocking. Everything here looked great. And they shot it without anybody at the park knowing they were filming a movie. That's great. All right, that, guys, is the one thing I am going to praise above everything else in this movie, is that they were able to make this thing look like a 100% professional film using only guerrilla filmmaking tactics, and that is probably the coolest thing you will ever see in this fucking movie. And even though I'm not a fan of the story, I'm not a fan of the characters, if you guys have a Netflix account, you totally should watch this movie, specifically to see how a film can be done when using guerrilla filmmaking tactics. This thing looks amazing just on that much alone. Yes, I still have my Blu-ray remote in my hand, and I don't know why. But yeah, guys, I watched this thing on Netflix, and even though, guys, when it comes to like story and everything else, I could just tell you that this movie kind of sucks. It really is something that you almost have to see for yourself. The movie is far from perfect, and there's no way in hell I'm ever going to say that. And there's no way in hell I'm ever going to say that you should buy it. However, if you do have a Netflix account, the least that you can do is give it a watch and just see, honestly, if it is your sort of film. Because honestly, it just kind of sort of left me feeling a little bit empty. But then again, that is just me. I do know that there are a lot of people who are really into these sorts of films, and they are probably going to love it. Now, as for me, as I stated, this honestly was not my thing, and I'm probably never going to watch it, a second time, but I am happy that I actually watched it, once, because I have been kind of curious about it ever since I first heard about it. And okay, yes, it was, kind of sort of a letdown. However, I am honestly happy to know that it was a letdown instead of just wondering if the fucker is any good. Now, since I have Netflix open, I'm gonna go find something else on Netflix to watch. So, guys, with that, we come to the close of another reaction and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.